Hi, well I guess you clicked on this video because like the rest of us mere mortals, you sometimes find Tekken 8 ranked experience to be very stressful. Well, you've come to the right place. I'm going to explain in this video why it's so important that you don't let yourself get too stressed when playing ranked, and I'm also going to give you some practical solutions to not let yourself get stressed. So, sit back, get a brew of some description, and let's talk about it. Okay, so slightly different video for this one. That's right, we're doing it on PowerPoint slides because I'm an old man and that's how I roll. But jokes aside, it should give you something to look at rather than just me rambling over some gameplay footage. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about rank stress and why it is so important that we try to avoid it. Okay, so the reason why it's so important to avoid rank stress. So let's address the why. As I say, it is pretty important. Now, most psychologists and psychiatrists agree that basically your brain is divided into two factors, right? You've got that of cognitive and rational thinking, and you've got that of emotive thinking. And then obviously there's a crossover of the two, but you get the general picture. Some people tend to have more than one or the other, etc, etc. That's generally speaking just common psychology of how everything works. Now, it's important to point out that under stress, actually the emotional, or if you want to be a bit more generous, let's call it the instinct side of your brain, actually takes over and starts being the primary lead. And that's bad for multiple reasons. In some cases it can be a good thing, but in this case it's a bad thing, and let me explain why. Now, one recent study on this basically demonstrated that the participants who were under significant stress were about 37% more likely to suffer significantly with cognitive abilities, which included things such as decision making and memory recall. Now let's think about why that's important when we're playing Tekken 8 ranked, okay? Now generally speaking, I see Tekken 8, well any Tekken game for that matter, or you could argue any fighting game. Basically you're kind of playing chess, except you've got to make your decisions within a 60th of a second, right? There's so much going on in terms of strategy. You've got to think what move counters what frame data's what. Is this person going to duck? Should I go mid? Should I go high? Should I duck a low? Can I low parry here? What's the punishment? You get the picture, right? There's so much going on that your brain is trying to handle. And in order to process this, your brain needs to be on point. You have to be, you have to have a clear mind. Your memory recall needs to be really good to be able to remember the frame data. Okay, your decision making has to be on point. You have to think clearly, you have to think rationally. Right, what is this person more likely to do? Can I get a read on this opponent? As soon as your emotional part starts to take over, that is bad news. And as I mentioned, in this study, clearly demonstrates that if you're under that stressful conditions, then in effect your brain is not going to work as well. So what's the TLDR version of this? Well, think about it anecdotally. How many of you have played player matches and you find yourself doing significantly better than you do in ranked? I know I certainly do. In player matches I don't often fumble combos as often. I'll even go up against highly ranked players more than me and go toe to toe, sometimes even win. If you flip that to rank, then it tends to be all the opposite, unfortunately. Now, probably the reason why that is because, as I said, you're less stressed because you're only playing player matches. There's no imaginary game points on the line here. Your rank's not going to be affected. Therefore, you're more likely to make better decisions because of the reasons I said earlier. Your brain is more likely to work better. So, in a nutshell, that's why it's so important that we need to try to eliminate as much stress as we can when playing ranked to basically keep our minds on point. Now, to be fair, this is a legit strat for why some people will literally taunt you after every single round. It's not just because they're a toxic scumbag, although they probably are. It's also because it is a legit strategy. They're trying to work you up. They're trying to get you angry because they know if you get mad, your decision making and all the rest of it is going to go down the toilet. So it is kind of like a legit strategy of why some people do it. So I hope that's really explained to you the reason why it's so important to get your stress levels low when playing ranked. It will in effect be a bit of a cheat code for you to play better. It's not going to make you a Tekken god overnight. You still have to have the fundamentals and the knowledge. But what I'm saying is this is kind of like the catalyst that will, make your gameplay much better. If you can keep those stress levels down, then you'll do much better than you would do otherwise. So now I've outlined it, let's go through some practical solutions and how to basically make sure that we avoid the stress. Okay, so first thing I would suggest is play and learn different characters. Now, outside of this discussion about stress, honestly, I would say do this anyway. This will really help your Tekken fundamentals, right? Especially if you pick up a different character that's a very different archetype for the one that you normally play. So let's say, for example, if you like to play quite a sort of a heavy duty sort of rushdown character like a Reina or a Hoang, you know, where you just basically like to sort of play rushdown and steamroll, then you could really work on your defense by playing a more defensive character, one that relies on movement and, you know, punishment and stuff like that. So if you do that, that means both sides of your Tekken fundamentals will improve drastically. Now, as I said, that's just a reason amongst many why it's a good idea to learn other characters. But for the sake of this context where we're talking about stress, the reason why I suggest it is because I find if I'm playing one of my alternative characters, not my main in ranked, I'm just far less stressed, to be honest, because number one, it's very unlikely, although it has happened occasionally, that my secondary character has a higher rank than my main one. So again, if you know your rank's not as high when you're playing, there's just less, you know, it's less kind of less at stake, let's be honest. You're thinking to yourself, well, it doesn't really matter because ultimately my rank with my main is much higher. So this is just generally speaking just a way to play that's a lot less stressful. And the other thing is it basically just gives you an alternative goal. You're just not as invested emotionally so much in your one character, which a lot of people, let's be honest, do get that way. They will get very defensive about that one character if they think they're carried or they think they're OP or whatever it might be. Play multiple characters, test yourself. Honestly, I promise you, you will feel far less stressed on your secondary than you will on your main. Okay, the second thing which you really, trust me, will really help you reduce your stress levels. Just pick a secondary target that's not necessarily just winning. It doesn't have to be one, it could be multiple. So let's say, for example, if you give yourself a separate goal, let's say, for example, in a particular match, you really want to nail that big boy max damage combo, okay? And that could just be something to focus on. Not necessarily, am I going to win, but can I achieve that? Or it could be, I don't know, am I going to be able to successfully punish everything that my opponent throws at me? Even if, again, if I don't necessarily win the match. Or did I manage to step or, you know, backdash the last part of that string and whiff punish them for it? Give yourself a separate target like that to work on, and then it takes away the stress level of this is the be all and end all of, do I win, do I lose, am I going to rank up, am I going to rank down? Trust me, go with that, it will just completely sort of clear your mind. Another way to look at it is go into your stats before you start playing ranked. Pick a stat that is, you know, not that well. So for example, for me as a king main, we all know it's going to be throw breaks. And just think to yourself, right, I want to come at the end of this rank session and I want that stat to be high. Again, even if I've lost and I've not ranked as high or whatever it might be, I'm going to focus on that particular part of my gameplay. Now, it is important for this, you can only do this in ranked. Unfortunately, your stats do not change if you play in player matches, so it has to be in a ranked battle. So like I said, give yourself that alternative. Don't make it all about how I lost, how I won, have I ranked up and ranked down, and that will help you emotionally detach yourself away from the rank and the wins and the losses, and that will reduce the stress levels. Okay, now in relation to the previous point, once you've given yourself an alternative goal, focus on those small achievements. Again, keep saying it and you'll see the pattern here. Don't just focus on the have I lost or have I won. Have a look at the did I play particularly well? Did I do a good whiff punish? Did I definitely, you know, launch punish something that's minus 15? Did I do that? I did. Excellent. Give yourself a pat on the back. Did I win? No. However, did I improve in the game? Yes. And that is an important point. I believe it was VDX who said that it's very possible to get better at the game while also losing. And he's absolutely right. And as I stress, if you think about that instead of the be all and end all of have I ranked up, have I ranked down, that will help you become more emotionally detached from the situation, and therefore your stress levels will not get as high. Okay, really important this one, and very easily overlooked. I know I certainly have. Do not play ranked if you are either tired or hungry or both. I know it sounds really trivial, but as I said before, the amount of brain power that's going on if you really know what you're doing when playing Tekken, and decision making and, you know, all the rest of it, as I mentioned before, that is quite tough on your brain. And therefore, if you're doing this while you're tired, you just won't cope with it. And again, not only will you just not play as well, you'll be more likely to get tilted and get stressed, and therefore begin that sort of spiral downwards that we've already mentioned. So don't play if you're too tired. Don't play late at night. Just, you know, only play when you're feeling refreshed. And a similar thing for when you're playing if you're hungry or your blood sugars are low. Just don't do it. You will not do as well. Your brain will not be on point. If you can feel yourself thinking, if you tell yourself, I haven't actually eaten for a good sort of 6-7 hours or whatever it might be, just stop playing, go and get yourself something healthy. Don't just fill up on sugar, get yourself a good healthy snack. Come back after you've had a moment and just see if you improve after that. Trust me, it's amazing the difference it can make. Okay, and finally, probably the most important one, which is why I saved it to the end, obviously, to get you to watch the entire YouTube video. This is the big one. If you're on a downward loss and it's making you stress and it's making you angry, just stop playing. I cannot stress this enough. I've been there. You've probably been there. You know, we've all been there at some point. You start losing, it starts making you angry, and you think to yourself, ah yes, I know what will make me feel better if I start winning. And what happens? Because you're stressed and because you're angry, you lose more. And therefore, the spiral downwards just gets worse and worse and worse. So you just have to take yourself out of that situation. I am losing, I am not playing as well, I will now stop. Now you can see this if you really want to sort of get a little bit down, but think about this. You can see this in people who gamble way too much. As soon as they get onto a loss streak, they think to themselves, ah yes, but if I keep playing, I will eventually be able to, you know, I'll be able to recover my losses through winnings. And it just doesn't work because obviously in the case of gambling, it's tilted against you. In the case of Tekken, if you're getting too emotionally upset that you're losing too often, as I said, it's going to just make you lose even more. Just stop, put the controller down, go and do something else. Okay, well I hope that's helped some of you. Now many of you have commented on some of my recordings that I don't tend to get too stressed when I play ranked. Now that's partly because I, to be honest, have helped raise a 9-year-old, so I've gone through, you know, levels of sort of stress and annoyances that you can't even begin to imagine until you become a parent. But all jokes aside, I do get stressed sometimes, but honestly, follow these solutions and I promise it will help. If this video has helped you, please give it a big thumbs up because I'm a YouTube maniac who just wants all the like and attention. I'm not really, it's just honestly, if you hit the like button, it does wonders for the YouTube algorithm. This will get pushed out to more people, simple as that. But I hope this helped you guys. If there's any kind of suggestions or things that you'd like to see about this sort of stuff, if you've enjoyed this kind of talking head piece, or there's any kind of tips for reducing rank stress that I've missed, I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. So thanks all for watching and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.